at night and I'm not puking, but I am in my pajamas and I did want to come on and make this pregnancy update. I have had a really crappy week, I'm telling you. It's been horrible and it's only Wednesday. To start, I had some really unfortunate news in regards to any future prenatal appointments that I'm going to be having, which I will explain to you later on in the video. Ellie's been sick for a week, and on Tuesday I had her up to the hospital just to make sure it was nothing more serious that required a prescription medication. Thankfully it doesn't, but it was a 5-hour wait just to get in to see a doctor. And today we received some awful news that we're pretty uncertain whether Matt is going to be able to take the time off that we were hoping for to spend when the baby's born. So we're waiting to hear either end of this week or early next week what's final and see if we can rearrange some things where he can still get the time off that he needs. It may not be for as long, but fingers crossed he at least gets 2 weeks. We need at least 2 weeks for my sanity, and I think that it would be nice so he could bond with the baby. Anywho, other than that, week 23 and 24, nope, we're doing 22, 23, have been very quiet, very uneventful, and very normal, which I like. I do have some few symptoms that are kind of annoying, like the indigestion. I have more saliva, if you haven't noticed, which is a real pain in the ass. And like I said in previous videos with the hyperemesis, I tend to throw up as soon as the sun sets or go upstairs to go to bed. Well, the sun set and now it's 8:23 and I'm not throwing up and I seem to have an abundance of energy. Even though it's been a crappy week so far, the energy that I've had is insane. I've been nesting like crazy, which Matthew loves and hates at the same time. He loves because our house is totally clean. You can probably hear my washer and dryer going upstairs. I do 2 loads of laundry a night because I'm laundry obsessed right now. And he hates it because I need his help. I need his help because my SVT episodes could become pretty severe at this point. The further along I get in my pregnancy, the more likely I am to have a really bad episode where I may need medical intervention, things like adenosine, or potentially being, I'm not sure if they would do electrocardioversion, like the paddles. I would request that over the adenosine any day of the week, but they usually put you to sleep for that. And I'm not sure if they would do that where I'm pregnant. I'm not sure, but if they could, that's what I would request, even though everybody thinks I'm nuts. But if you've ever had adenosine, you probably would agree with me. Because you're asleep and you don't know what's going on. But with the adenosine, you're wide awake and it feels like somebody's killing you, so I'm told. And yeah, that's not something I want to experience. So I'm doing things to lessen that from happening. I don't make very many trips up and down stairs unless I absolutely have to. It feels like my heart's pounding out of my chest when I walk upstairs, and it never used to do that when I wasn't pregnant. So yeah, I'm just doing anything that doesn't aggravate my heart. Lifting Ellie is becoming a less and less thing. Which, we cuddle on the couch and stuff, she's been sick for the last week, so, I don't want to ignore her or anything, and I want to hold her when she wants me, but I don't carry her up and down stairs. I hold her hand, and she walks by herself. She walks to the vehicle holding my hand. Obviously, I have to lift her to put her in, but I try not to lift her if I don't have to, simply because of my heart. Anyway, that being said, though, I've not had a bad episode, knock on wood, since that 11 weeks, so that's really, really good. What else can I tell you about? I'm having really annoying Braxton Hicks, and my Braxton Hicks have always been uncomfortable but not painful. I'm having a lot of them tonight for some reason. I think it's because I didn't have enough water intake. But speaking of water, every single appointment that I've been to, aside from this one, has shown ketones in my urine. And if you're not familiar with ketones, it means a sign of dehydration. It can also mean a sign of gestational diabetes, but that's usually accompanied with sugar in the urine too. And I've never had that. So this last appointment, I have no ketones in my urine. I do have trace man proteins, but then again, so does every other pregnant woman. That's really not a super uncommon thing. What else? I'm more winded. I'm very winded, actually. I get really out of breath. It hurts for me to bend over, and I actually have bad cervical pain. Is enough. I had a pretty bad episode because my mom took us out for lunch today, and as I was walking out of the restaurant, it felt like somebody all of a sudden like shoved a knife or screwdriver up into my cervix, and man, oh man, was that ever painful. And I had to like bend over and hold my vag out in public because I thought I was gonna pass out from the pain, and I actually was like, ow, right loud. And it was really hard for me to continue to walk out, and then really hard for me to lift Ellie up into the truck to put her in the car seat. Holy frig. So I called labor and delivery. I'm like, look, what is going on? Am I just being paranoid or what? And because I'm feeling movement, I have no bleeding, I have no contractions or anything, she just called that the miseries of having your second baby. I guess the reason why I was concerned is because during Ellie's pregnancy, and for the life of me, I can't remember how far along I was. I think I was maybe about, well, I want to say this far along, but then I remember, indigestion is horrible. Then I remember being like 16-ish weeks with Ellie, and then finding out that my cervix was shortening. So I think that's why I was concerned. I thought that might have been happening again, but there was a lot of other issues that went into my shortening cervix, like the bleeding episode and stuff like that. So everything's been good. Now the crappy news that I had on Monday was that I'm no longer going to be seeing my family doctor until after this baby's born. The OBGYN clinic is taking over my prenatal appointments, and that is because the OB that I saw at the assessment clinic that I went to deemed me as high risk. And that's because she did that solely based on my weight. Now, they did deem me high risk in my last pregnancy, but that was because I had a lot of other stuff going on with, like, you know, the bleeding, my placenta, things like that. And obviously I understand with the SVT, and, you know, I agree that my weight isn't ideal, but I think, I'm pretty sure she judged me this time just solely based on my weight. And that being said, even though they deemed me high risk with my last pregnancy, they still let me see my family doctor and then the OB on occasion. And the reason why I'm so upset about it is I just got my family doctor in December, my new one, and we were getting along so great. We were driving along so well, and we just agreed on a bunch of stuff, and she was getting to know me, and I was getting to know her. And now I won't be seeing her until after the baby's born, or unless, like, I need to take Ellie in, or I need to see her for any other reason other than my pregnancy. So I'm kind of upset about that, and I'm really upset that I feel like I was fat shamed, and I don't know if maybe it's just my hormones getting to me, but it's kind of crazy because the OB that I saw, she told me that I had an 80% success rate of having a vaginal delivery, but she doesn't want me to have a vaginal delivery because I'm fat. She told me that during a true emergency cesarean, meaning something like uterine rupture where I might be put to sleep, they may have problems dosing my anesthetic, is that what it's called? And I might not ever wake up from surgery. And she also said that they will have a little bit longer of a time to get the baby out because they have extra tissue to cut through to get the baby, which I agree is 100% fact, but we're not talking like an additional 5-10 minutes. We're talking like 90 seconds maybe. It's not a huge scare factor. I mean, there's lots of other overweight women who have C-sections and they are completely fine. She also said that I could hemorrhage on the table and bleed to death. She said that I could have extreme blood pressure issues. I could have a massive SVT episode on the table and bleed to death. And she wants me to do this. She wants me to have a cesarean section. She said that the likelihood of that happening in an elective C-section was probably not going to happen. However, if we rewind to Ellie's C-section, it was considered or classed as emergency/non-emergent, meaning emergency because I didn't go in there asking for a C-section. It wasn't the planned thing. I was not put on the books that day to have one. And non-emergent because they took their time getting me to the OR, and look what happened to me. They took their time getting her out. Everything was all hunky-dory until I recovered from surgery. I nearly bled to death. I had all these problems. I had a very severe uterine infection. I had things left in my uterus. I nearly lost my uterus. And that was like during a non-emergency situation. She's telling me, she's like, not every C-section is like that. Well, I don't care. My experience was enough for me to decide that I never want to experience that again. Obviously, I will do whatever it takes to get a healthy baby. And I've already decided that if he's breech, I'm going to take that as a sign from the universe to have a C-section. This is the way he was supposed to be born. I'm not going to do any interventions to flip him or anything like that. I'm just taking it as a sign. But if I go into labor on my own and everything's going fine into delivery, the plan is to have a vaginal delivery. I'm not interested in a C-section simply based on my recovery. And I'm always scared to talk about how strongly I feel with C-sections because I don't want anybody to think that I'm bashing women who have them or bashing the need to have one or the surgery itself. It's just my recovery, and I promise you, if my recovery had been like everyone else's, a VBAC probably wouldn't even be up for discussion. I would probably just have another surgery. But anyway, all the problems that I had last pregnancy, aside from the bleeding, and the only problems I'm speaking of is my SVT episode. And even then, like, I did have a few severe ones, but I'm having way less than I am this pregnancy, or no, I'm having way less this pregnancy than I was with Ellie's pregnancy, and they still, like, let me see my family doctor, and now they're saying that I need to see the maternal fetal medicine specialist, which don't make very much sense to me. They also want me to do biophysicals because of my weight, which I totally agree with, because when you're overweight, you have a little bit of a higher risk for a stillbirth, but I think that's because overweight women are more at risk for gestational diabetes, which I don't have gestational diabetes that I know of. My husband's a diabetic. I've been tracking my sugars because I'm curious, and so far I have no signs of gestational diabetes. So, I mean, the carrier is fat. The baby is 100% healthy. And I don't know, maybe it's just my hormones, but I'm feeling like super fat shamed because she was not interested in me having a vaginal delivery. She thought that I should be totally okay with them laying me down on an operating table and cutting me open despite my past experiences simply because I'm fat. Like, that was her only reason. Even though 80% chance. I don't know. Like, whatever happens at this point is what's meant to happen and what's supposed to happen, and I accept it. I just wish she would be a little more encouraging. I get by all means that she has to tell me the statistics and risks about both of the things, but the thing is, she didn't tell me the risks equally of both things, about having a VBAC and having a secondary C-section. She did not tell me about placenta accreta or increta or anything else that could happen with future pregnancies. And like I said, I don't know where I stand on that. Like, she just focused on, because you're fat, to put it bluntly, all this is going to happen. Now, had I been skinny, she probably wouldn't have said all of that stuff. So, anyways, this has gone on for way too long, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm officially at viability right now, which I'm so blessed, and I cannot believe that I have another opportunity in life giving an infertility diagnosis, that I had to reach this milestone. I'm so happy and very, very blessed and very out of breath. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm probably going to head up to go to bed. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.